Hello, hello, hello. I'm doing another test. Testing, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2. What is this? The Remnant Trials. So Five Nights at Freddy's animation. Right? It's looking like.
Alright, let's make this quick and quiet. Because what I'm about to do isn't exactly within our company guidelines.
Y'all do a lot of things.
Remnant is something we all have. It enables us to live. It's the energy that keeps us going.
What you mean?
Our soul, if you will.
You just taking souls from kids or something?
But only recently have I discovered.
Yeah, you're making my person's mouth move, dude.
Through unfortunate events that this energy can be harnessed and used to give life to.
From Jersey, what you gonna do, you mook? You know, this is you freaking mook. Get out of it. Get out of the animatronic, you mook.
Now, extracting this remnant from a life force does result in its end. A soul for a soul. So that doesn't make this experiment legal as such. But if I were to make a breakthrough with this technology, it could be revolutionary.
Okay. Oh wow, look how fast this is. That's crazy. Alright, hello everyone. It's I, the great King of Jank. And I'm just sitting here chilling. I guess we're just gonna watch YouTube videos.
Anybody could be brought back to life, stronger than ever. This could change the world. Then we'll see who has the last laugh. Just you wait. So the way this is gonna work is I'll go through the various animatronics that we have here and gift each of them with a soul. I'll then interview them to see what they remember from their previous lives or if they remember anything at all.
Oh yeah?
If all goes well, we can move on to motor skills, no pun intended.
Motor skills?
Let's begin.
Is it because they're all animatronics?
Okay, Remnant test
why?
1 of 5 with Funtime Foxy.
Ooh, we gotta get Foxy with Foxy. And this color design is different. For those who haven't played Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, do it. I've been watching like YouTube videos of it and stuff. It's kind of dope. And like the whole Five Nights at Freddy's like lore all together is pretty interesting itself. But yeah, Security Breach is pretty dope because it ties in some loose ends a little bit. A lot of people have been complaining about it because they like the bugs and stuff. But I'm just a VR, so who cares what I think? Let's go. Ah!
Hello there. I am Afton.
Oh, you're Afton.
Does that name sound familiar?
Yeah, I know the reference. You're the guy from the lore of the series and the man who kidnaps kids.
Do you know what your last name is?
I am Foxy, or at least that's all that I remember.
I like how
So
Foxy
you're
has
aware.
personality, but actually it's because, you know, the souls of the dead are in him.
Aware that I was somebody else before this? Yes.
Do you remember what happened?
What happened to you?
I think I was at a party.
A pizza
There was
party?
music and singing. But something bad happened to me.
Well, that's unfortunate.
This is dark.
But you're here now. You can leave all of that behind.
Oh shit.
I have put you back together.
It's my family.
I don't think you understand how strange this feeling is. A person one moment, and a hunk of metal the next.
Flip the metagame
It's
on
a
you.
fresh start, a new life. I'd kill to have that opportunity.
Yes, well, I suppose
Oh, you're
you have
British.
very different ambitions then. At least I'm not a murderer.
A murderer? I didn't kill you if that's what you're implying.
But you did.
Your body was donated for science.
That's funny. Donations usually require consent.
Oh,
For the donor to be
he didn't like the sass that Foxy was getting. Foxy was a little foxy. Who we got next?
Alright, test 2 out of 5. Ballora. This time with a larger quantity of remnant. Here it goes.
That means a lot of ghost spirits, kids in her.
Who goes there?
Oh,
Don't be afraid. I'm just here to ask you a couple of questions.
this guy's a real ass.
Who are you?
I'm the man who gave you a gift. The gift of fresh starts.
How do you mean?
And why should I trust you? Because the last time I trusted somebody, things didn't end so well.
Do you remember what happened?
I remember.
Can you list details?
Do you remember anything
I
at all?
can. But I don't think I'll share them.
Ooh, they give him the sass,
Listen,
man.
I'm the one who
Kinda
gave you this chance to start over. So please cooperate and tell me exactly what you recall.
I don't remember nothing.
No.
I remember you. Oh. You just said no. I refuse.
Apparently, the more remnant I inject them with corresponds to how much of their past lives they can recollect. Now that could be potentially hazardous for myself, so I'm gonna do this next one with a much smaller amount.
How much smaller?
Test number 3. This time with Funtime Freddy.
This guy was a regular cultist. Oh. You got a little bit of remnant in you?
A minute amount of remnant causes the subject to fall into a state of unconsciousness. In other words, it's ineffective. I could also try rerouting a secondary power source to the animatronic's core.
He's really
Maybe
into
that
science
can
and
help
shit.
stabilize its life force. Okay. Now onto Circus Baby.
Oh.
The one who took my daughter from me. Here it goes.
Kept her though, you freaking psychopath.
She took my daughter from me. Yeah, later.
So your daughter's in that one.
Hello there. Do you remember me?
You are William Afton, my creator.
I suppose that is correct, yeah.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. You are Circus Baby.
He sounds so nervous around
I
this.
am.
Like he's unsure or
But,
something.
do you happen to know who you really are?
I don't understand.
Think. Remember back. Who were you before all of this?
You hear the crackling in his
don't
voice and the
understand.
emotional like,
Please.
breath?
Try to think back.
Like he's losing his
Don't
Your
patience.
name. It was Elizabeth. Elizabeth Afton.
I
what
don't
it makes.
understand.
Elizabeth Afton,
don't
daughter
understand.
of William
I don't
Afton.
understand. I don't
Why
understand.
don't you remember? Remember, damn it.
He's trying to force it. It's like your guilt, bro. This is crazy right now, bro. Like, holy shit. Well, do you remember?
Circus Baby test. Unsuccessful.
I bet.
She did not or was unable to remember.
I bet.
This now concludes the remnant trials.
I didn't even know it was your reflection.
No. We can't stop now. It was working. I just need more time, more trials. I need more subjects.
Afton like you made him do this in the first place, and then you lost your daughter, and then you just lost his mind. Like further, this is crazy. Like damn. Then he started making more souls. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is up there top tier isms with Lovecraft stuff. Like the whole Five Nights at Freddy's like lore, even though with the games it's all over the place, but like the fan base and like, you know, when you pull back, it's all together now. But like, yeah, that was kind of crazy. So William Afton is adamant about putting souls in the machines and making them pop off and work, which I gotta go back and rewatch the whole thingies to see why he was even doing that in the first place. Like, why was he trying to like do evil stuff with deeds of evilness? But let's check out the Sealed King SPC animation real quick. So we ain't doing nothing. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Y'all just chilling. No, we don't care about the ad. We don't care about it. We don't care about it. We don't care about it. Let's go.
And when it comes to SCP-2440, that might really be the case. Like many of the anomalies and entities that have been kept on file by the SCP Foundation, SCP-2440, the being known as the Sealed King, is a malicious creature of untold, devastating power. The key word there is untold, and
there's so many stories.
We mean it in the
stories that ain't been told.
Most literal sense. You cannot know about SCP-2440. It must remain untold.
Wait, but
unless,
you're
of
telling
course,
us.
you have at least level 4 clearance. You do have the right level of clearance, don't you? We really would have to hate to break up the amnestics and wipe your memory at the end of this video. Assuming that you do have adequate clearance, then it is time to introduce you to SCP-2440, known to some as the Sealed King or Zealtla to its friends, if it had any friends, that is. If you are familiar with the likes of the infamous Hanged King or the even more infamous Scarlet King, then you will have heard the term Eldritch Being thrown around before.
And my favorite species of mythological creatures or like fantasy fiction creatures is Eldritch beings, because they're a mixture of magic and science, which I feel like is a perfect representation of the current era that we're in. It's a representation of the old world understandings of like magic, or the principles of magic, or as I like to call it, just earth sciences. Just if y'all were ever wondering, human beings were more superstitious back then in ancient times and stuff, and that was because they were still developing their catalog of knowledge of the world and understanding of the world. But as we became more advanced, more sophisticated, and more more prosperous out here in the world and in nature, the more we conquered in nature, the more different forms of thinking and storytelling and imagery and symbology we was able to add to our repertoire that was already there. So like Eldritch beings are like my favorite out of like mythological beings, because of that whole aspect. It's like they tap into that whereas like older stuff, it was more of like the principles or like the moralisms or the actions of the people or our group or whatever, whereas the Eldritch stuff or the Lovecraft stuff is more of like the mind and mental, what's going on with your inner soul and stuff. It's like you can follow idealism and think that it's good, but actually you could be working for a whole Eldritch god, and its whole principalities is just, you know, it's cool stuff. It's really cool shit.
An Eldritch Abomination is an almost godlike entity, one which does not adhere to the natural laws of the universe.
Scarlet King. He's my favorite SCP.
We understand them. Their disturbing otherworldliness is almost indescribable to any mortal person. It is a description that can,
like Narfletep, the Yellow King, what else? Show Niggeroth, Cthulhu itself, like those type of stuff.
be easily used to define SCP-2440, along with the words Keter-class anomaly and existentially terrifying. The Sealed King is an extra-dimensional entity, a being that inhabits a plane of existence far outside the physical reality of our own universe.
So is he basically the idiot god?
While the creature's physical
The
appearance...
idiot god is one of Lovecraft deity beings, for those who don't know. And I'm not just saying like I'm trying to be doing like, here's the idiot god, it's an idiot. No, like literally it's called the idiot god, or the whole concept of the idiot god is that the world that we live in, or the existence that we're living in right now, our reality is actually his dream, and then if he woke up from his reality, then everything that we know in existence will be destroyed because everything is inside his dream. So this whole manifestation is his dream. We're all different manifestations of the idiot God. And if he was to wake up, that would be the reawakening of the universe or some shit. It's supposed to be synonymous to the Big Bang and the crunch of the universe, but that's a whole nother video for another day, because there's no way that all our existence could crunch into each other if it's expanding at a rate that's faster than it can even keep up with itself. But whatever.
Appearance has yet to be observed by any in this dimension. Some have depicted it as resembling a gigantic being with a mass of squid-like tentacles, along with a glowing humanoid form in its center. What makes
that sounds like your girl from One Punch Man when she fused with Orochi. Go and watch that. Just so for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of occult symbolisms and stuff like there, secret sciences or like heavily occult. I ain't gonna say satanic, occult sciences that's in anime and stuff like that. So yeah, that's literally what the design inspiration for Orochi completed form with the was it Momoko? I can't remember her name, but like the super hot alien lady that was evil that works for the Monsters Association.
SCP-2440, such a formidable threat, however, is not just the creature's immense size. One of SCP-2440's core abilities is the power to influence and manipulate the minds of mortal beings. But this isn't as simple as the Sealed King choosing one person from our universe and driving them like a remote-controlled car. SCP-2440's influence is spread mimetically. By manipulating data and information, SCP-2440 slips its mimetic agents into texts, images, even spoken phrases, and other audio stimuli. Think of it like subliminal messaging or product placement. Imagine for a moment that you see a character on a TV show eating a certain brand of black and white sandwich cookie, and that makes you decide that you want to go to the store and buy some delicious black and white sandwich cookies to enjoy for yourself. That idea was planted in your head by something you saw, and it had an...
And that's a technique you taught in, I went to school for commercial photography for a little bit, and that's a technique that you taught. It's called chasing a pink dragon, or was it consumer identification or product identification, where like, let's say you take like a piece of toilet paper and you make it real endearing, and like you overhype an object but put a human emotional connection or connotation to it. So let's say, for instance, like my favorite example is with the toilet paper commercials, and y'all be watching toilet paper commercials and they have the bears and they're all happy and stuff, and they're like, oh, you know, toilet paper brings the family together. You being a family person, you're going to see them and be like, well, I want that type of toilet paper because my family, you know, their butts to be clean. And since in the commercial they conveyed like, you know, a happy family, emotions that are recognizable to humans, we're able to identify with that more, making us more biased to want to buy that product, because we're like, okay, well, that's a product I need. Look at these people that are buying it, they do the same thing as me, that's reacting to it. I want that for my family. So yeah, it's a form of mind control. Like, we already have that now.
On your behavior. SCP-2440 operates on a very similar principle, but with one key difference. Once enough people become aware of it, SCP-2440 will use those to subtly spread its influence, controlling the actions of those it manages to infect, and its hold becomes stronger the further they spread the knowledge of the Sealed King. To put it plainly, the more people that become aware of the Sealed King's existence, the more powerful this Eldritch Abomination becomes. The range and scope of SCP-2440's abilities varies depending on the quantity of people its influence has been mimetically spread to. According to research by the SCP Foundation,
I could pull it up on here right now, but we already got the OBS on here. But the word memes, or the concept of memes, look up Terrence McGannon videos if y'all get a chance. The whole concept of memes or meming has been around for a long time. It's really just taking a part of it, like he said, just take part of this information and just throwing out there little tidbits of information, just a little bit, or little tidbits of historical references, that type of stuff.
If 200 people or less have been infected, then these individuals will demonstrate an increased interest in media belonging to the horror, science fiction, or fantasy genres, whether this be films, books, or images that fall into one of these categories.
Or all of us being possessed by the sealed kings?
Exposure to these desired materials is believed to increase the spread of the sealed king's influence. If the number of infected individuals climbs to between 201 and 500 people, then SCP-2440 has been known to take direct control of a single infected person.
Oh, yeah,
this control is somewhat limited, though, with the sealed king only able to maintain a connection with the controlled host for half an hour. During this time, the infected person will attempt to infect further people by creating works that contain subtle details about the nature of SCP-2440.
Oh no, am I Agent
Historically, when infection
SCP-2440
levels have reached this phase, Foundation researchers have been able to communicate with SCP-2440 through conversations with its host. The creature displays a very hostile attitude towards humanity, and it has been quite open with the fact.
If y'all wondering, another inspiration possibly that could be for SPC 2240. In the Gnostic text, there's the god being or a lesser god being known as the archons. Archons are counterfeit god-like beings. They're not like angels, or they're like angels. As like in the Bible or Gnostic text, it's implied that like angels are like no different than golems, like spiritual apparatus, or they act as apparatus, and then you infuse spiritual energy into it, or aka Ba or Ka. Ba and Ka is like breath, like the essence of a movement or atoms and stuff. But the whole concept with the Archon is made like the god's makeshift babysitter, but then like the babysitter like went rogue and it went on its own, because it's like the manifestation of it's the manifestation of the human nature, but like on a sophisticated level. So like the absolute, like that part of us that's like not wild animals, it's like the emphasis of that part like to the maximum. It's like the prison warden. That's the best way to put it. But anyway, yeah, in the Gnostic text you got the it's an eldritch being, but it's called the Archon or Archons. And like I said, they're angelic like beings or god like beings, but they're not the gods. They're like lesser god beings whose job is they was created by the main god, or it's not even god, or they was made by the creator deity for them to act as gods for like corresponding planets to watch and like observe the progressions and stuff, and like keep them in a certain mind state or whatever. And your whole job as a humanoid spirit being, this isn't this shit. I don't believe this shit for real. But the whole concept is you're supposed to be able to overcome the basic mental projections and constructs and stuff that's sent by the Archon to go beyond that to switch as human, since the Archon itself is a representation of all of the natures of humanity in a god form. Or
that its sole purpose is to continue infecting individuals until it is able to manifest physically in our reality without the need for a host, something that feels like it's right out of the evil Eldritch entity playbook. When infection of the knowledge spreads up to 1,500 people, SCP-2440 becomes able to take full control of another infected individual without the previous limitations.
So
I write a lot of essays for school, but I also write sales descriptions for my Etsy shop.
I use Grammarly on my work emails and also on my cooking blog.
Grammarly is a game changer for me at work, but I also love it for social media.
Savage. That's pretty savage.
By making them fully subservient, it will then use this person to speak simultaneously to any and all that have been infected with information regarding the sealed king. Next, if up to 10,000 people become infected, more of SCP-2440's abilities start to influence this dimension. The creature is known to be able to distort and reshape reality, though at this point SCP-2440 still needs to control a host. But even though its powers and abilities have increased, at this stage the creature shows no interest in actually using them, and its focus still remains on using its human host to spread its mimetic agents, furthering the infection. Once the number of people infected by SCP-2440 through subliminal mimetic information surpasses 10,000, the Sealed King is able to manifest its true form outside of a human host for maximum time.
It's using human mental energy to get stronger, basically. If those are wondering, it's like, oh, it's using them, because it's again, in Gnostics and like occult and esoteric teachings, the belief is that there are different forms of energy. You got the energy that makes up the physical body, which will be represented by atoms and protons and neutrons and electrons and stuff. Then the things that the protons, neutrons, and electrons are made up of are bundles of packets of energy or spiritual energy. blah, 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 which you break that down, and those are waves, and the waves are actually encoded codes or letters or alphabetic symbols that actually are so many in the trillions and billions and gillions that they form a singular solid formed object, but they're really all just, if you break it down, it's all just symbols and shit like that, or something like that, something crazy like that. Energy signatures. But from what I'm getting from SCP-2440, he's just eating people's mental energies, because your brain, as you know it, your brain is a biomechanical wonder, because this motherfucker can produce bioelectricity. The bioelectricity in your brain produced by the neutrons that we fire off and stuff. Like I said, this is stuff they've been telling us in school. But yeah.
Frame of 1 hour. This is the point of no return, as SCP-2440's reality-bending powers are dramatically increased. The methods that would have previously kept the creature at bay will cease to be effective, and it can take direct control of up to 1,000 of those it has infected. Normally, the SCP Foundation limits the number of people permitted to know about SCP-2440 to 100 cleared personnel. This is achieved through the use of amnestics. Given that SCP-2440 is a creature that grows stronger the more people know about it, these drugs certainly seem like a viable way of keeping that number nice and low. But once infection numbers reach 10,000, that's when amnestics are just no longer enough. Based on the information about the sealed king that is available to them, SCP Foundation personnel have projected that if the number of people infected by SCP-2440 ever reached as high as 100,000 or more, the creature would likely be able to manifest outside a host for longer, possibly up to 2 hours. It is also believed that SCP-2440 would be capable of creating dimensional portals, either inviting anomalies from other universes into our own, or simply creating its own anomalous creatures. By this point, any and all infected individuals would be fully under the sealed king's control. Finally, if 1 million people were to become infected, SCP-2440 would most likely achieve its ultimate goal. The Eldritch creature would be able to fully and permanently manifest itself in our dimension, in its true form, most likely leading to an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. Fortunately, through the dispensing of amnestics, the SCP Foundation have managed to prevent such a scenario from coming to pass. Additionally, containment teams are regularly sent to investigate any reported awareness of SCP-2440, and any infected individuals are either treated with memory-altering drugs or simply terminated. The entity has been known to spread its influence through text too, though, and even the documents within the SCP Foundation's archives aren't safe. The Foundation attempts to keep any links to the Sealed King within other SCP files hidden to avoid a spread of knowledge about this extra-dimensional Eldritch Abomination. However, while only 100 members of authorized SCP...
I also believe that fiction... what's the word? Anyway, that like the stuff that's in fiction isn't that far off from our actual reality. Because there's a lot of weird stuff in this world that be going on that we can't explain simply with science.
Personnel are aware of SCP-2440. The Foundation isn't the only organization aware of this being's existence. A group calling themselves the Children of God is comprised of individuals previously infected with the knowledge of SCP-2440's existence, and has supposedly been around even longer than the Foundation has. These people worship the Sealed King as a deity, and seek to infect others with the same information that the creature uses to influence them. Carrying out the whims of this extra-dimensional threat, the Children of God attempt to spread the word, as it were, by any and all means available to them. The Foundation considers any member of the Children of God to be highly dangerous, and containment teams are advised to either capture them on site or use lethal force to terminate them. The Children of God were previously based in a compound somewhere in the United States.
The stronger it gets. So if you got a whole ass cult out there and you only need like what do you say, 300 to get it popping, but you need 1 million, that's nothing. Like I said, like we got 1 billion people on Earth, so it's nothing for somebody to get up to 1 million if they get the chain reaction going. You can do that off a news article.
And during an assault on their base, the Foundation was able to recover documents that describe the possible origin of SCP-2440. According to these documents, at the very dawn of time, old gods emerged from the empty abyss of nothingness, otherwise referred to as Mother Void. This entity granted life across the universe, all other realities, and every conceivable dimension. However, the story detailed in the Children of God's legend claims that the old gods were fickle, twisted, and brutal things, with no purity in them.
Sounds
It
like
seems
us,
to suggest that the old gods were similar entities to SCP-2440, capable of bending and reshaping reality, and apparently did so purely for their own amusement within the newly created universe. These old
It's
gods
just
created
Eldritch beings just
creatures in
going around
their
just
own
wrecking shit and
image,
hacking and
toying
dividing
with the
the world.
fabric of reality like children with blocks, building and destroying at will. Before long, the old gods began to turn on each other, focusing their natural jealousy on their siblings that had been born of the void. The firstborn of the void and chaos, a being called Metol, coveted the creations of his fellow old gods, and flooded the newly created worlds with a rampaging army of vile, grotesque beasts he had made. As Metol attempted to kill his various siblings, the other old gods retaliated and sent the universe into a period of darkness, where the blood of young life flowed like water. However, none of the old gods could ever die, only be forgotten. But they had created so many creatures to serve them and fulfill their purposes that it seemed impossible that this would ever happen. The Children of God's documents then describe Ziotla, or SCP-2440 as he is otherwise known. Apparently the firstborn of Mother Void, and an entity called Father Light, SCP-2440 is also referred to by many reverent titles such as Lord of the Gods, Devourer of the Impure, and Savior of Life. Being both born of light and darkness of the Void, Ziotla was considered to be a true god, and according to the creature's followers, did not set about creating life, but perfecting it. The old gods turned on Ziotla, his half-siblings attacking him with the armies and monstrosities they had created. However, some of these creatures turned on their masters in service of SCP-2440 instead. After generations of warfare between SCP-2440 and the old gods, Ziotla finally vanquished Metol in single combat that lasted 10,000 years and laid waste to countless worlds, almost tearing the universe apart. Eventually prevailing, Ziotla cast his siblings down into oblivion, but as he did so, Metol cursed him, banishing SCP-2440 from the universe, implied in these documents to have been our very own reality. The Children of God venerate the creature as their Lord and Savior, with more of their documents claiming that this king of all mankind is wrongfully sealed away. They believe their sealed king is returning, destined to reappear in this dimension and lay waste to our reality. Whether this is truly the origin of SCP-2440, or just what the entity wishes its infected disciples to believe, is unclear. Whatever the case, we suggest you quickly forget everything you know about SCP-2440 for your own safety. Now check out SCP-001 The Scarlet King and SCP-2845 Alien God Crash Lands on our planet the Deer for more entities that could destroy everything we know and love in a heartbeat.
We wouldn't want that now, would we? That would be most unfortunate. Well, anyway, we're going to check out more videos, so be sure to be on the lookout for another upload. No! You will not, Satan! No! No, Satan! But anyway, we'll do more videos like that. So be on the lookout. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And I will be back. It's the King of Jank. See ya!